question marks all over the place with the new head coach. Mizzou, the darlings of the new entries into the SEC just a couple years ago, winning back-to-back division titles. Now they're at the crossroads. Gary Pinkel, the stalwart of that program, built the program, sustained it, stabilized it, the guy that really held everything together. He's gone. Matty Mock out of the program, not the type of game-changing defensive talent last year that what we saw previously. And we talked about Georgia being devoid of playmakers, Mike. How about Mizzou? Pretty much the same thing last year. Just, wow, the offense was really putrid in much of its SEC games.
Washington, Columbia, same narrative as a lot of the East, quarterback issues. They a little bit disappointed with the freshman that came in last year. Very disappointed with Russell Hansborough. I thought he was going to have a great year. He did not have a great year. The Barry Odom hire, I think, was questionable. We'll see how that goes. Barry Odom's probably a really good coach, but I think Missouri may have gotten a little conservative there, coming from the inside. They're just like Kentucky, just like David said on Kentucky. They're losing a Missouri defense. I think Missouri is going to have to find its identity over the next year or two. I think it's going to be hard to do. Much like Kentucky, I don't see Missouri competing in the East very well this year. I think Missouri's going to have a tough road to hoe over the next 2 or 3 years until they find their identity in Columbia.
We all talked about it a few weeks ago right after National Signing Day. Missouri, the only SEC state in the footprint that did not produce an ESPN 300 player, and that's just not an aberration in 2016. That's pretty much the way it goes for Mizzou, so they've got to do some creative things to coach up players and find them elsewhere. David, what do you see out of Mizzou?
It's going to be really tough when they have to replace their probably best starters on both sides of the ball. Russell Hansborough is gone. Kentrell Brothers is gone. So, he's going to start. But Odom's going to have to come in and start from scratch and find some, more playmakers. They do have a new guy coming in, but not new to us. Chris Black, the Bama wide receiver transfer. He's from here in Jacksonville. I got to see him play a lot. He's a really talented guy. I'm trying to, he didn't get on the field a lot at Bama. Bama's shown the propensity, if you really are talented, they'll play you. So it's kind of weird he didn't really get on the field there a lot, as much as I thought he would. But maybe Missouri's a good fit for him over a team that's void of playmakers. I really like the hire of Josh Heupel. That's a pretty good, I think, a hire for offensive coordinator for develop Drew Lock a little bit. I like the way Drew Lock kind of started last year, but he did kind of fall off. I think some more teams got more tape on him and stuff, but that's what happens with freshmen sometimes when you throw them in when they're probably not ready. So can Heupel come in and build a rapport with Locke and get him comfortable enough to take the next step in this Missouri offense? But this is kind of a work in progression type of season, I think, for Missouri. I don't think many people expect much from them with new staff and losing the big playmakers. So, they played hard for Barry Odom. You saw the videos and stuff when he was hired. Missouri players loved it, but I agree with Mike. It was kind of the safe hire, and not sure it was actually the right one.
Yeah, so Chad, Missouri kind of at the crossroads here. Barry Odom, as Mike mentioned, they stay inside, in-house, and go with what's comfortable there, and we'll see if it pays off.
Yeah, I kind of questioned this at first, like the other guys did. I really did. I had some questions with it, but after kind of reading in and digging in, talking to some of the guys that that do the beat there for the Tribune and whatnot, I kind of got a feeling that this was the best thing for them because of the fact that Odom already knew the blueprint, and Pinkel has, despite not winning the SEC, but he did get to the Eastern Division title. Didn't win it, but that being said, there was a blueprint in place. Odom was familiar with it. I do agree with David in the fact that there's going to have to be a relationship built with Josh and a quarterback, especially considering the fact that the offense, only scored like 9.1 points a game in the SEC last year against SEC opponents, and that's just really, really. That's god-awful. There's no other way to put it. The offense, as far as passing and rushing were concerned, finished last in the SEC in both aspects. The defense, number 2, right behind Alabama. And again, this year, the defense looks to be pretty salty again. It should be the team's biggest strength. And with Odom's expertise in that area, I think that you won't see much of a drop-off in the defense. So there's probably going to be a lot more leverage on Josh, the offensive coordinator, to get things going on that offense. But when you bring in a guy like Black, Alabama is a lot more talented as far as their depth is concerned at that wide receiver position than a lot of people may have realized in the last couple of years. Even though Amari Cooper was there, and yes, he was the man on campus, and we saw that breaking records, but you had guys that were there. There's so much talent at Alabama in those positions. When you're signing 4 and 5 stars year in and year out, a guy like Black gets lost in the shuffle. I think at Missouri, he's got a shot to be a standout with this team. And again, the defense is going to be what leads them, but they've got to find a way to get above this mere 9 points a game against SEC teams if they want to have any kind of shot in the future.
Yeah, it's a team that came within that much of losing to an American athletic team in UConn that attempted a fake field goal to win the game outright, and also it could have been much worse than it was for Mizzou. Kentrell Brothers, as David mentioned, gone from that linebacking core, but they bring back some really stellar defenders, as Chad alluded to there. Michael Scher, one of the best in the business in the SEC, 93 tackles, 9 tackles for loss. Donovan Newsome, one of the better players at that position as well. And this Arian Penton, one of the top cover corners as well, coming back in the SEC.